Welcome to this week's Cattle Call. I'm Susan Littlefield. I wish I had some exciting, crazy cash information to pass along to you, but it's been a week where we saw a lot of negativity going on in the trade. We did see a bit of struggles. Box beef, for example, looking at them, some weakness going on. But again, we've had an amazing ride so far, and who says the ride's over? We'll find out all the details with Brad Kooima. He's joining us with Kooima and Varlick out of Sioux Center, Iowa. So let's start out. Cash market, it kind of gave up a little bit. What are your thoughts?
What sure did, Susan, and worse than I expected, and I think worse than most of the trade expected, as witnessed by the fact that the futures have had a 2-day break here. So, had we done this show on Monday morning, I'd have said I think cash will be fully steady to maybe a little higher. The North did their part. Yesterday, we traded cattle here at 140 to 141, which is indeed steady to $1 higher. And here, the show lists are very, very small. Through that area, northeast Nebraska, that I'm most familiar with, also the show list there, the supply of cattle is very, very, very tight. So the South last week was 142, and we thought, well, okay, let's expect them to at least trade that way. But for whatever reason, and maybe some of it was the weakness in the futures, maybe that the basis traders, if you're a hedger and the futures are way below cash like this, you're an easier seller because of, you can work the basis, right? So maybe that was part of it. But I was surprised that they started to let cattle go this early this morning at 140, pretty soon 39. There's some reported trade of as low as 138. I don't know what kind of cattle those were. But of course, it's easy to get a little unnerved, right? These cattle are finally high enough where they make a little money, and you want to be careful to not throw that away. So I think most of what we're talking about here is a short-term deal. But yes, the cash market probably, along with what you had mentioned earlier, a little bit of an issue with the box beef and with the dressed beef market, I think was part of the deal today for sure.
All right, let's talk about that weakness that you've seen in the box beef. What are your thoughts?
Well, you've got a wholesale, you've got a commercial packer sector that's made money every minute for the last 11 and a half months. Note sarcasm by Brad Kooima. What I think happened here was that chain got found out that you just can't charge $22, $3, $4, $5, $6 for ribeyes and expect the consumer to not back off. And I think they misjudged that consumer demand going into the holidays. How's that for a polite way of saying? I think that they were gouging them. And they got some pushback. Okay, well, So we're talking about a product. It's not crude oil. It's not corn. You can't store it, right? I mean, there's a shelf life for it. So that's it. I've been told now the last 2 days for sure that's especially is what's happened, where some of these people are going like, well, looks like we maybe better take this ribeye or tenderloin or whatever it is down to back into a place where into consumption, they call it. In other words, price it down to where it's competitive again and where it'll move. Well, unfortunately, as that happens, of course, it takes, the value of the box beef down, at least for now. Now, don't misunderstand me. The packer still got lots of margin. Even if he has to give up a little bit here for a minute. He's certainly, this whole enterprise that is the cattle industry has shown fantastically good demand and the ability to continue to both have that kind of demand both globally and domestically. So I think I also would view this as kind of a short-term glitch and a little overreach on the part of what happened with the boxes for a minute.
Well, we've got this holiday trade that's coming up. Obviously, the purchases have been made. But having said that, consumers still have to go to the grocery store and make those purchases. What are your thoughts in this next couple of weeks?
Traditionally, you would, traditionally the cash market would go higher during the month of December. Typically, 10 days ahead of Thanksgiving, you would expect a correction in the box beef. This one seemed to come a little quicker. There still is some seasonality to the middle meats for Christmas parties, office parties, New Year's Eve. So there's an extra amount of demand for that, which we should still see some of that, I would think. COVID does change the dynamics a little bit of some of that, but for the next part beyond that, guys, I'm kind of fascinated with the old rule of thumb used to be 2 weeks before the Super Bowl. I'm not sure that those old rules apply anymore. I'm told that there is a tremendous amount of demand out there as long as meat is fairly priced. Um, don't forget, we kind of changed this whole dynamic here because of COVID. One positive of the COVID thing is we changed what 10 to 12% that equilibrium between what we use meat for, either buy it at the grocery store, cook your own, or go to a hotel restaurant deal and make them prepare it. We found out that what, you can cook a pretty good steak at home, and you can do that
Mhm.
probably twice a week instead of going out once a week. And so that side of the demand, I'm kind of anxious to see, that maybe we're going to see that being a little bit better than some of what the so-called experts think. I'm not scared of demand. I think the market's just fine.
All right, real fast as we wrap up in a nutshell, could we see higher cash maybe next week?
I don't think next week, but I'd say the week after that. I
Okay.
don't think this is the oh no rollover. It's never going to be here again. Maybe we're going to have a couple 3 weeks of chopping wood, as they say,
Okay.
holiday doldrums. I don't know if we're going to be back on, but if we aren't, Merry Christmas before that. But I think we come out of next year with tighter supply than they expect. A little snowstorm wouldn't hurt. We're supposed to get 9 inches here tonight or tomorrow night. So
Yeah, they're talking snow here too as well. Well, we'll catch up with you next week and we'll keep track of this cash.
perfect. Thanks, Susan.
Thanks so much. Brad Kooima has been joining us. Just a reminder, commodity futures and options do involve a substantial risk of loss, and they're not suitable for all investors. And that's this week's Cattle Call. I'm Susan Littlefield.